1,000 subscribers. A milestone I never thought I'd reach by the time I did. So thanks. And sorry for the long period between uploads, but there's been some YouTube problems I spent a week trying to fix. Alright, so in my last few theories, I've noticed that there are some people subscribed to this channel that are fans of the ABC show Once Upon a Time. And I must say that it's quite literally the only TV show I watch anymore. It's mostly because of the ever-changing epic story. This show basically states that there are multiple realms of storytelling, each with several tales in it. There are people known as authors who record all of the events and people in these parallel worlds and keep track of their histories. Sometimes these authors come to our world and make these stories into movies, one being Walt Disney. And these several realms have different properties, magic, styles, and people. And with so many characters comes so many relations. And if you look up Once Upon a Timeline or Once Upon a Time Family Tree, it's quite a bit to swallow. And I definitely won't lie, you're in for a mess watching this video if you aren't familiar with the show. You'll know some character names, but it may get very confusing, so you have been warned. This family tree is up until the Season 5 finale, and it is the first published family tree yet with all the info, and the first real one in video form. I have almost every single character ever mentioned or shown, not including the spin-off series Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. And right before we start, here is a key of relations. Black lines will represent a close biological connection, like a birth parent. Red lines represent a romance or love, whether it be one-sided, current, or in the past, it represents that love. Blue lines represent a foster, adoption, or mentor. Green lines between two people mean that they are or were married. Light blue lines represent a couple who are or were engaged. Purple lines represent creation or recreation. And finally, when you see an arrow, it just represents that a person did something to another person that was not mutual, such as a woman adopting a child without a husband. So where the heck do we start? With the first link in the tree, Henry. Henry is a young boy who was given birth to by an orphan woman named Emma Swan. She had Henry with a man named Neil. Little did Emma know that Neil was from an alternate world, one with magic and different creatures. But we'll get back to him in a moment, because orphan Emma was very young when she had Henry, about 18. And so, via a closed adoption, she gave him away to a woman named Regina Mills, the mayor of a Maine town known as Storybrooke. Emma, being the orphan that she is, had parents, but they too were from that parallel magical realm, and her parents were forced to give her up to Earth, those parents being Snow White and Prince Charming, the famous married Disney couple. So Snow White and Prince Charming gave up their daughter, Emma Swan, who had a child, Henry, with a man named Neil, also from this realm. Now, I'll stop explaining and just show it, and for those who aren't familiar, you will get lost. Neil's parents are Rumpelstiltskin and a woman named Mila, who were married before Rumple killed his wife. Rumpelstiltskin's father is Peter Pan. Snow White's father is King Leopold, and her mother is Queen Eva. So far, so good. Eva was killed by a woman named Cora, and years later, Leopold married Regina. You may also know Regina as the Evil Queen, that one from Disney's Snow White. Regina's mother is Cora, and you may also know her as the Queen of Hearts. She is the daughter of a poor miller. Regina's father is a man named Prince Henry. Cora had also been engaged to a man named Prince Jonathan. Together, they had a daughter named Zelena, also known as the Wicked Witch of the West. Regina had many lovers over the years, one being Robin Hood. Robin Hood was tricked into having a child with Zelena, and they named that child Robin. Robin Hood had a wife named Marian, and they had a son named Roland. Other relationships Regina had were Sidney Glass, who is the magic mirror, Sheriff Graham, who is the huntsman, also someone who loved Emma, and Daniel, a stable boy she was engaged to before Cora ripped out his heart. Devastated, Regina contacted Victor Frankenstein to bring Daniel back to life, and eventually he actually kind of succeeded. Victor also tried reanimating his brother, Gerhardt, who was that stereotypical Frankenstein monster. Both are children of Alphonse Frankenstein. Okay, are you good so far? If you're still here and you haven't seen all of the show, then I congratulate you for your perseverance. Moving on, Regina helped give legs to Ariel, the Little Mermaid, creating her human form. Ariel's lover is Prince Eric. Okay, we're doing good. let's quickly go back to Robin Hood. The Sheriff of Nottingham is also a character sometimes involved in the series, and he's connected in by his previous relationship with Marian. Alright, now both Zelena and Cora had romantic relationships with Rumpelstiltskin. After killing Mila, Rumpel went on to marry a woman named Belle. You may know her from Beauty and the Beast. Belle was engaged to Sir Gaston before she was taken by Rumpel, and Belle's parents are known as Sir Maurice and Colette. Belle and Rumpel have an unborn child as of the Season 5 finale that I'm just gonna call Rumbell. Belle, for a short period of time, had also dated a man named Will Scarlet. And again, back to Robin Hood. He has a band of thieves he created, known as the Merry Men. Will Scarlet was one of them. Also in the Merry Men, Friar Tuck, Little John, and more. For a short while, it also included Mulan. And now another break. Are you good? Pause if you need to and look at what we've got. You'll be able to see lots of Disney names, and it's cool to see how they're all connected. But sadly, there's more. Mulan had a one-sided romance to a lady named Princess Aurora. She is the child of Briar Rose and King Stefan. Briar Rose is Sleeping Beauty, and so is Aurora. This show's really good with making two people one person. Aurora was engaged to Prince Philip and had a child, Philip Jr. On the many convoluted adventures Mulan had gone on, one included working with a lord and tutoring his daughter in the arts of war. You may know this daughter as Merida from Pixar's Brave. Merida's parents are Queen Eleanor and King Fergus, and she has 3 brothers who are identical triplets. Fergus is the leader of a clan known as Clan Dunbrock, and this realm has other clans too, and they are as follows. Clan Macintosh, led by Lord Macintosh, Clan Dingwall, led by Lord Dingwall, and Clan MacGuffin, led by Lord MacGuffin. This realm also has a few inhabitants not belonging to clans, those being the Witch and Edgar. So now we've inserted Sleeping Beauty and Brave into the mix. Phew! I've had lots of commenters say that I talk rather fast and have poor diction, but oh well, when you're making something like this, it's kind of difficult, and yet there is still more. Now you can see why a theorizer like me likes this show. Prince Charming and Snow White had a second child after Emma, known as Prince Neil. But we aren't done with the Charmings. Prince Charming was born into a poor family with only a mother. Her name was Ruth. Charming also had a twin brother known as James. When they were young, James was sent off to become a knight at a very powerful king's castle. James fell in love with a woman named Jack, and he also had a relationship with Cruella de Vil. Yes, Disney's funniest villain. But in Once Upon a Time, her story is actually very intriguing. She had a mother named Madeline and 3 fathers she killed. Yeah, in this, she's dark. Cruella also had a relationship with Isaac, one of those aforementioned authors, and during her time on Earth, she was married to a man named Mr. Feinberg. Still hanging in there? Still more! James died, and Charming took his place, being adopted by that same king. George was adopting them so that they could marry a princess of a neighboring kingdom, the kingdom of King Midas. George wanted his gold, but back to our tree. Midas's daughter is Abigail. After loads of antics, Charming and Abigail were engaged, but they managed to save her old fiancé, Frederick, and Charming left her. You know, I flat out apologize for the ridiculousness that is this tree. I can explain it in no other way though, so let's hop right back in. Many people had fostered Emma Swan through the government system, one actually kind of adopting her. This lady is Princess Ingrid. She was a royal woman from the magical realm, but ended up stuck in our world trying to find her happiness. Ingrid had 2 sisters, one named Gerda and one named Helga. Their ancestors are now displayed here. A lord named the Duke of Wesselton was somewhat engaged to Princess Helga, but he actually loved Ingrid. Gerda then proceeded to lose both sisters to a tragedy and married a neighboring king. They had 2 daughters, Elsa and Anna married Kristoff, a man who was adopted by the annoying creatures called rock trolls. Anna had also sort of dated a man named Prince Hans. Hans had several older brothers. And that, my people, was Frozen. Pause now and just look at the progress. I know that loyal Once Upon a Time fans will be following me, but others, I'm trying my best. And to my dismay, there is still more. Emma is currently dating Captain Hook. His father is Brennan Jones. His brother is Liam Jones. Their half-brother is Liam Jones II. Alright, that was nice and blunt. Captain Hook adopted William Smee to his crew of pirates, and for a short time, so did Blackbeard. Emma's been romantically related with everybody, including having a very small romance with August Pinocchio Booth. Pinocchio was brought to life by a little blue fairy, and was adopted by his builder, Geppetto. Geppetto's parents were named Stephen and Donna, but sadly were killed by Jiminy Cricket and his family. Martin and Myrna were circus freaks who had a son named Jiminy, and devastated that they had killed his parents and that Jiminy's parents had died, Jiminy adopted Geppetto. Jiminy was actually human as all of this was going on, and frightened to hurt anyone else, he wished himself into a cricket by the blue fairy. So now we've got Hook and Pinocchio out of the way, and oh my god, the mess. It really is sad that this is the only way to display seasons worth of amazing writing. Emma killed a sorceress known as Maleficent, and years later, Rumpelstiltskin had to resurrect her. When she woke up, she discovered that she had a child, Lily. Now back to Rumple. Neil Cassidy left his father over magic, and was adopted in by many people, the prime group being the Darling family, George, Mary, Wendy, Michael, and John. All characters from Disney's Peter Pan. During a time of sadness, 8 dwarves took in Snow White. Unfortunately, one died named Stealthy, thus giving us the 7 dwarves. Luckily for them, they eventually got to adopt the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk. Emma's occupation is a Bales Bonds person, and she had a mentor named Cleo Fox, who had a daughter named Tasha Morris. So that's just me weeding the garden of extra characters, but I am not done yet. Peter Pan adopted several boys over the years, one named Felix, and he simply called them all the Lost Boys. Prince Henry's father was a king with the name Xavier, and finally, if we tie together all of the fairies to their original source, we have a nice tree connecting them. Nova is a pink fairy who loved Grumpy the Dwarf, Tinkerbell is a green fairy who lived in Neverland, and the fairy godmother is a yellow fairy that shortly mentored Cinderella, and of course, the blue fairy. The fairy godmother is a godmother and therefore can be classified as a temporary adopter of Cinderella. Cinderella's parents aren't known, but her stepfamily is. Her stepmom is named Lady Tremaine, and she has 2 stepsisters. Cinderella married Prince Thomas, son of the king, and they had a child named Alexandra. So now we've covered this bottom part and we're very close to being done. Alright, back to Zelina. She loved Hades, the god of death, who is the son of Kronos the Titan, and has a brother named Zeus. Zeus has a son named Hercules, and Hercules had relationships with both Snow White and a girl named Megara. And that was the Disney film Hercules fitting in. But also, Zelina was given up by Cora and was taken in by abusive, unnamed parents in Oz. When she left them, she was taken in by the 3 witches of Oz, East, North, and Glinda. After antics ensued, they got rid of Zelina and temporarily took in a small lost Kansas girl named Dorothy Gale. Dorothy has an aunt named Emily Brown. Dorothy has a relationship with Red Riding Hood. Red has had other relationships with a dude named Gus and a boy named Peter. Her mom is named Anita, and Anita's mom is the granny from the classic tale of Red Riding Hood. The granny then adopted Red. Also, Emma was temporarily engaged to the Wizard of Oz. I just hope you're following me because we're at the final point. Hook had a small relationship with Ursula, whose father is the king of the sea, Poseidon. Henry has a girlfriend named Violet, and she has a dad named Sir Morgan and an unnamed mother. Her mother is a descendant of the first inhabitants of New Camelot, a world created by Merlin. His powers were granted to him by the gods, or Zeus. Other inhabitants of this place include Nimue, Vortigern, King Arthur, Lancelot, and Guinevere. Both Lancelot and Arthur had relationships with Guinevere, Arthur actually marrying her. Merlin had a very good romance with Nimue, and he took in a boy as his apprentice. Neil was engaged to Tamara, but secretly she loved Greg, the son of Kurt Flynn. That's all. There were still some I didn't add because they could not fit anywhere. Snow White's maid is Johanna. The Mad Hatter has a daughter named Grace. Hansel and Gretel are the children of a woodcutter, and they killed the blind witch. The dragon is an earthbound magical entity. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and Poole don't fit in yet. Rapunzel doesn't fit in either, nor does Bo Peep and a couple of others. But oh well, we've got everything here. Snow White, Cinderella, The Little Mermaid, Hercules, Brave, Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, Mulan, Peter Pan, Pinocchio, King Midas, 101 Dalmatians, Rumpelstiltskin, Beauty and the Beast, Frozen, Rapunzel, The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, Jiminy Cricket, Fantasia, Camelot, Frankenstein, Robin Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, Hansel and Gretel, and Bo Peep. I congratulate you if you are still here. That was possibly the most insanely complicated thing I've done on this entire channel. Hopefully it was a bit understandable. Until next time, I'm the Theorizer.